Hi, welcome to Veg Food Fest, brought to you by the Toronto Vegetarian Association. Firstly, I want to thank you for viewing our programming over this amazing weekend we have planned for you. My name is Sarah Fay, and I'm the Community and Engagement Coordinator at the TVA. And today I want to introduce you to Kimberly Carroll. She'll be speaking about how not to be hated as a vegan. So Kimberly Carroll is a coach for changemakers. She's a longtime animal advocate and vegan, and she's a director with Animal Justice and the Toronto Vegetarian Food Bank. She helps leaders, activists, healers, entrepreneurs who want to make a big difference in the world with the inner shifts, high-performance habits, and strategies to make them unstoppable. As an activist, she's also headed up some of the biggest animal rights campaigns in Canada, including the original Why Love One But Eat the Other transit ads and Animal Justice's cross-country billboards. She was also one of the founding directors of Mercy for Animals Canada. We hope that you enjoy the programming, and if you do, that you consider supporting the Toronto Vegetarian Association as a donor or member. As a member, you get the coveted Veg Card, which will give you discounts from 5 to 20% at local vegan and vegetarian businesses in the GTA. You'll also get our quarterly newsletter Lifelines, and you'll be a part of an amazing community. As a special for Veg Food Fest, you can receive a discount on joining as a member. For a minimum $10 donation as a new member, you can become a member today, and if you're renewing, it will be a minimum of $15. This is thanks to our generous donor, Mahan Thacker. We'll link a link here, and you can click on that to get started. Please consider giving more if you can. This year, things might look a bit different, but we're happy to still host Veg Food Fest. We thank everyone, our speakers, our vendors, our sponsors, our volunteers, our board members and staff, and all of you who have supported making this event happen for its 36th year. To keep TVA going beyond the 75 years that we've existed so far, consider making a donation at veg.ca/donate. After this is over, stay on the platform, enjoy some more programming, more entertainment, and check out all of our vendors. And thank you for joining us. Here's to more years of living life on the veg.
Well, hello Veg Food Fest folks. Hope you're having a fabulous online Veg Fest experience. Man, if we were all together in person right now and it wasn't COVID times, you know I'd be running through the seats giving y'all high fives. So I'll just have to give you some virtual high fives right now. Thanks so much for joining me for this workshop, How Not to Be Hated as a Vegan, Bridge Building Tips. Before we go any further, I need to introduce you to somebody. This is my co-speaker, Karma. One of the joys of doing a talk from home is when you have a cat that doesn't want to leave your lap. She will eventually grow tired of me and you and leave. But for now, she's my co-speaker. So let me introduce myself, folks. I'm Kimberly Carroll, and I'm a coach for changemakers. I help activists, social entrepreneurs, leaders, and other influencers with the inner work, the high-performance habits, and strategies to empower them and their mission. More importantly, though, I'm a passionate vegan. I've been vegan for 13 years, veg for 23. Whoa. I'm also an animal rights advocate. I'm currently a director and campaign strategist with Animal Justice, and I'm also a director with the Toronto Vegetarian Food Bank. So whether you are a vegan, vegetarian, or considering going veg, this will be a good workshop to have under your belt. In the next 30 minutes, you're going to learn ways to navigate the world as a veg person that builds goodwill for the vegan and animal rights movements, which ultimately, of course, helps animals and the environment. But we're also going to talk about navigating it in a way that makes your relationship to the non-vegan world less draining and more empowering for you. You've already done such an awesome thing for the world by going veg. I want it to be as rewarding as possible for you. So I'm going to guess that you went veg or are thinking about going veg for some really vital reasons. For the animals, for the environment, for your health. Yet you might be finding this important choice not always getting the best reception from others, whether that's people close to you like family, friends, or coworkers, or just the world at large. Okay, get this. A 2015 study by Kara McInnes and Gordon Hodson stated that the only group viewed more negatively than vegans were drug addicts. What? How did a group that has chosen to make a pretty big, inconvenient transition for the sake of animals, the environment, and good health end up so hated? And just as an aside, I don't think it's fair to hate drug addicts either. Well, the way I see it, folks, is that people end up hating vegans for mainly 3 reasons. 1, us being vegan inherently makes them feel guilty. We show that it is possible to eat and live in a way that does less harm to animals and the environment. It triggers their shame for not making this choice themselves, especially if they have an affinity for animals. 2, they see vegans as a threat to long-held traditions and the status quo, and generally people get very anxious about cultural changes. And then 3, some vegans can come across as really annoying sometimes. Okay, let's be honest. And she's on her way out, guys. Veg folks who ooze self-righteousness or are hateful in their exchanges can leave a really bad taste in people's mouths. So as veg folks, there's definitely something you can do about number 3. Okay, there's a lot we can do about number 3. And surprisingly, there are even some things you can do to temper people's fear and shame, even, if it's baseless. But first of all, why should we care if we're hated? I mean, screw them all, right? Well, if we're working to end animal cruelty and stop industrial animal farming from completely destroying the environment, we can't afford to stay a small hated group. We want everyone in our group. And therefore, we need to make it the awesome place to be, not the reviled place to be. Also, honestly, being a target of such animosity is too much stress for us veg folks. It weakens us. And if we're all weakened, the movement is weakened and more animals suffer. Okay, so how do we do our part in dismantling this attitude towards vegans? Let's start by exploring ways to dial down the self-righteousness and the judgment. Come on, we all have it in us. And they cause movement sabotaging behaviors. Now, believe me, I get where the judgment comes from. Those that are vegan have peeled back the curtains on an aspect of our world that is just horrifying. 72 billion land animals killed for food each year, and 1.2 trillion marine animals. In this last minute alone, 2 million animals died for food. Oh God, that just hurts my heart so bad to say that. Animal agriculture is also responsible for a huge swath of the world's greenhouse gases, more than the entire transport industry put together. Planes, cars, transport trucks, boats. Animal production also uses up massive amounts of the world's supply of water, grain, fossil fuels, pesticides, and drugs. It's also a major source of land and water degradation. And don't get me started on the health problems caused by meat, dairy, and eggs. So once you're exposed to the weight of all of this, it's huge, and it's hard to comprehend how someone wouldn't choose to change their eating habits to help stem these atrocities. Now, it's okay to feel sad about this and bewildered and frustrated, but when we start getting into the judgment and the self-righteousness, that's when our cause gets into trouble. As I learned from one of my teachers, Denise Lynn, who trained me to become a coach, the moment you start to judge someone is the moment you lose your ability to influence them. Okay? You see, judgment towards someone often will trigger their shame. And shame, oh my God, shame is one of the hardest emotions for us to handle. I want to get something straight. Just a little sidebar. There's a big difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is the feeling that you get when you're doing something not in your integrity, when you're doing something bad. Shame is the feeling that you are bad, okay? Awful feeling, and we will do anything not to feel shame. We'll erect all kinds of walls, we'll attack, we'll deny, we'll check out. Suffice it to say, when shame is in play in someone, nothing else is getting in. Okay, those walls go up, steel walls. The question, the million-dollar question, how do we stop judging though? I know it's so damn hard. Well, here are two things that I keep top of mind. One, the understanding that hurt is mostly caused by those who are hurting. I try to tell myself over and over again that people are doing the best they can from what they know and are capable of. Really, most destructive behavior comes from pain, fear, lack of access to knowledge, or the inability to learn. For example, if they can't show compassion in certain areas, it was probably never modeled to them in a way they could understand. Or they're not psychologically capable of compassion. And how sad is that? Another example, if someone has a compulsion to exert force or be violent, they probably grew up feeling very powerless for whatever reason. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that in this movement we shouldn't speak out strongly and often and sometimes even get in people's faces. But we need to find a way to do this with some tenderness still in our hearts. Knowing that if they could do better, they would. Okay, so it's about getting it done, but dropping the hate around it. And what this does is it helps you do your advocacy from a place of more space and equanimity, which ultimately contributes to the solution rather than the problem. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The second thing I try to remember when the judgment starts rising up in me is that in some shape or form, I was once this person. At some point in all our lives, we did something that was damaging and either tried to ignore it or rationalize it. In fact, we probably all still do that in some aspect of our lives, whether it's flying when we know it hurts the environment or indulging in addictions when we know it can hurt other people. As much as I feel shitty thinking about the number of animals I ate before I went veg, I really do, my connection to that reminds me of how automatic it was to rationalize and fool myself, and how hard it was to give up lifelong habits and traditions. I also think about some of the ways that I thought or acted before I recognized my white privilege. So touching back into those kinds of places when I feel judgment start to come up keeps me a little bit more humble and understanding most of the time. Another behavior that can alienate vegans from others is the drive to win. Win arguments with family members, win converts, win social media battles. But this whole winning paradigm, it creates opponents and enemies. And I truly believe our power in the movement comes from building bridges as opposed to going to battle. So I think a really powerful perspective shift from this winning mentality is to treat everyone like a potential ally. So here are some cornerstones of that approach. Instead of trying to decimate folks who aren't getting where you're at, I know it's tempting, you practice sharing knowledge civilly and without getting charged up or getting into personal jabs. It just amazes me watching on social media folks that I know have such a compassionate heart, but they're name calling and they're just going for the jugular. It hurts my heart. The other cornerstone of this is to invoke the power of curiosity. Okay, so instead of just painting this person as an opponent or somebody who's not getting it or an idiot or a moron, recognize that they have this big, unique universe inside of them. So what about exploring that? What if instead of trying to explain your point in 20 different ways, you started to ask clarifying questions to truly get to the bottom of where they're coming from, to truly understand them? Then you have the ability to deliver information that could actually speak to them. Another cornerstone. In your exchanges, instead of making them feel ashamed about who they are, you could focus on the part of them that you want to grow. This is something that psychologist Melanie Joy talks about, and I love it. So, for example, if you find out that the person defending their meat eating loves their dog, instead of accusing them of being a hypocrite, you could say something like, "You obviously love animals and have a kind heart. And that's why I figured you'd want to know what's happening behind the doors of factory farms and might be as sad about it as I am." Another thing to keep in mind on this track, instead of needing to convert people on the spot and seeing them as somebody to convert, maybe you could just help them understand your experience. This might at least turn them into an ally to start with. So, not explaining why they should be vegan, but why you are. And try to explain it through your eyes. Make it really personal. After spending time with pigs, I realized how sensitive and playful and loving they are. And bacon started to become really awful to me. Like when I see it on the table, I just feel so deflated. Probably similar to how you would feel if dog meat was served. Okay? Folks, I have seen hundreds of times how when someone with a differing opinion senses an intention of true connection in my communication, their walls tend to go down and their minds and hearts open. It doesn't always happen that way, but when it does, this is where change actually has a chance to root. But even if they go into full-blown a-hole mode, there are always other people watching and witnessing and noticing how it was the vegan who acted with integrity. Okay, going on to the next piece. I want you to remember that even if there's not a whiff of judgment about you, people in their own guilt will project it onto you. You may even be able to offset this, though, in a few ways, even if you're talking about veganism or animal rights. So you could acknowledge one of this person's more noble qualities, like, "I know how passionate you are about social justice, and veganism addresses so many social justice issues." By showing this person that you respect some aspect of them, their defenses go down. And remember, people don't often remember the details of what you said, but of how you made them feel. And they'll put that back in their catalog of, "Oh, this was my experience with a vegan." On the other hand, if you show them that you think they're a rotten person, they will be sure to oblige. They will fall down very fast to that rotten person level. You can also help some walls come down in these discussions by showing humility and sharing how you're not perfect and some of the things you struggle with. Saying something like, "I loved meat so much, I never thought I could go veg." I tell people about, oh my God, and I'm so embarrassed to even say this, how we used to order KFC and everybody would give me their chicken skins because I loved it so much. Ugh. But I share that because I was such a meat lover and people just see me as this vegan, this noble vegan. I wasn't. I was a huge meat eater for so many years. Okay? And they need to know I'm starting from that place. I'm not starting from this place. Okay. The last piece I want to talk about quickly is it's hard to hate a vegan if that vegan is an all-around awesome person. So, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to just be so damn relatable and dynamic that they can't help but be drawn to you. You see, if folks can relate and connect to you on other levels, even if they don't connect to you on the vegan level, they'll be much less likely to label you as in a sort of one-dimensional manner. Okay? They'll be less likely to look at you as a walking indictment of their lifestyle. So, for example, on social media, don't just be showing graphic undercover videos or, going after Canada Goose, although you should be doing those things for sure. Mix it up, show your varied interests. If you like sports, talk about sports. If you, love this Netflix miniseries, talk about that. Use your humor, bring some humor to your life and your circle and your sphere of influence, your platforms, and your personality, okay? I know that what we're dealing with as vegans and as animal advocates is just so heavy sometimes and so big, but it can't be the everything, because that is not a good walking advertisement. Hey, come join us and be depressed for the rest of your life. No, you've got to show them that, you can maintain your personality as a vegan. You can be a full person. You can have a life. Another thing I would suggest if you don't already is take an interest in other social justice issues and make sure that you're lending your support to them. Let's not just, the lowest sort of hanging fruit for us, the most promising allies for us are people in other social justice movements. So it's really important to, play as a team with other activists. And finally, find some joy in life and spread it. Soon, folks will have so many kind, interesting vegans in their social circles that they'll just have to start loving us and hopefully joining us. Okay, well, before I wrap up, the Toronto Veg Food Fest has been kind enough to give me a little time to share with you an exciting project that I'm heading up for animal justice this coming January that I think you folks here might be very interested in. It's called Animal Justice Academy, and it's a free 6-week online training boot camp, community, and movement to help those who care about animals to become the most informed, empowered, and effective champions for animals possible. We're inviting people who are already animal advocates or those who are wanting to learn how to do more for animals to join us for this experience. We have such an exciting array of animal protection luminaries joining us for this, just from a wide range of backgrounds and groups and initiatives, from legal experts to powerhouse grassroots activists to media mavens to politicians. They're going to be giving you the inside scoop on how to make a better world for animals. Over the 6 weeks, we're going to cover a range of topics. Let me just give you a little taste. You'll find out how to do effective advocacy for animals and plant-based eating in whatever communities you're in. We'll go further on what we covered here today and really go into ways to more successfully engage family, friends, and colleagues. Ways that you can help get more vegan products on menus and on shelves in the stores. How to do animal advocacy at work, at school, in other local community organizations, as well as ways of cultivating more diversity within the animal protection community. You're going to learn how to get more politically active for animals and plant-based initiatives, how to get and conduct a successful meeting with your political representative, for example, or how to insert animal issues into elections, how to support animal-friendly and veg legislators between elections. You're also going to get a crash course in knowing your rights as an activist, how to report animal cruelty in a way that's actually going to make a difference, planning demonstrations, protests, and other forms of on-the-ground activism. In Animal Justice Academy, you'll be learning how to create engaging media. So important in this movement. From effective social media techniques to writing letters to the editor and articles that get published, how to build an online following, and getting training in how to conduct yourself in a TV, radio, or print interview. It's also going to be so important to keep you healthy and empowered as possible as an animal advocate. So we're going to teach you techniques for staying focused and motivated, tools to help deal with the pain of animal suffering that you encounter, establishing healthy boundaries, mindfulness and activism. We're going to arm you with some conflict resolution techniques and give you tips on how to be a super vegan. And of course, we'll be covering the basics, major areas of animal exploitation, animal sentience, exploring the different groups that are doing vegan and animal advocacy and their different approaches, and getting you armed with the answers that will give you the confidence to go into any discussion about animal rights or veganism. The program will be delivered through weekly video modules, live panels, live Q&A sessions with the Animal Justice Academy team, a private Facebook group where we'll do massive community building, breakout groups to cultivate collaboration, as well as doing a mass animal protection awareness campaign as our practicum. If you care about animals but you don't know where to start in stepping up more tangibly for them, Animal Justice Academy will help get you launched. If you're already an active animal advocate, Animal Justice Academy will offer you new skills, knowledge, and inspiration so that you can supercharge your impact for animals. So, Animal Justice Academy will be running in January of 2021, and as I mentioned, it's completely free. We just want to get you trained and empowered. You can join our Animal Justice mailing list to get a heads up when enrollment opens, and that's at www.animaljustice.ca. All right, folks, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure, being able to speak with you. Thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me. If you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, and my website is kimberlycarroll.com. Now get out there and be full of strength and love.